everyone, and welcome back to SellerSpeak. In today's session, we will be talking about why you should register with Amazon with a trademark and how you can protect your brand logo. Amazon is a very crowded place. We get it. And that's why we have Marcella with us. Marcella has over 5 years of experience making mid-sized businesses protect their logo. Marcella is a lawyer, she's an entrepreneur, and she's a podcaster. What can't she do, right? Hi, Marcella. How are you doing?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
We're glad to have you. So, as you can tell me, and you are going to tell me, that Amazon Marketplace is really confusing. And she's here to give us some tips and tricks on how we can improve our brand logo and how you can register your brand with Amazon. So, Marcella, how do I protect my brand?
Well, if you're planning on selling on Amazon, then, there's the Amazon world in which you need to protect your trademark. And if you are someone who is selling outside of Amazon, then there is the real life United States Patent and Trademark Office, website where you would go to protect your mark. And the reason I make that distinction is because a lot of the rules that apply outside of Amazon don't necessarily hold true within Amazon. And so I know that for people that are brand new to this, that might seem like a mouthful, but I just want to throw that out there from the get-go so that people are aware of how it might be different to register a trademark and then use it within the Amazon platform.
So many people do actually register for trademark on Amazon, and I wanted to know what the process is. How do you enroll for brand registry?
Yeah. So if you're someone that wants to protect a trademark, whether it's to use it on Amazon or outside of Amazon, you are going to go to the United States Patent and Trademark Office website, and that is where you will find the right form for an application. And so the process is fairly straightforward. There's an application, you fill out the questions, and you have to make sure that, of course, you fill it out as precisely as possible, because the answers to all of these questions really center on the protection that is going to be given to your brand. So any little mistake in the crux of the application could really change the outcome for you.
All right. And so let's go a little bit back. So when you're designing your logo, what are some things that people should keep in mind so their logo is first not repetitive and second, it stands out amongst the crowd?
Well, you definitely want it to be unique, right? So I don't want to look at your logo and say, wow, that's really reminiscent of McDonald's, or wow, that reminds me a lot of Starbucks logo. You want to stay away from designs that are going to evoke those kinds of thoughts and opinions. So the more unique you can make it, the better. And if your logo is going to contain a name, then that same rule holds true. You want to make it as unique as possible. So sometimes if you go onto Amazon, you'll see that there are sellers on there whose brand name you cannot even pronounce. It just looks like random letters selected from the alphabet and slapped together. Now, that might be strategic, it might not, but at the end of the day, it is unique. And so that is what will serve you best.
I've seen a lot of trademarks getting blocked or rejected. And why do you think that happens? Is it because your trademark resembles a lot like the trademark that exists out there? Or what do you think are top 3 reasons why trademarks get rejected all the time?
Yeah, so if your trademark is being rejected, or if you're being blocked as a seller, it could be for a number of reasons. One, you might not even have brand protection yet. So that means that you're not enrolled in Amazon's brand registry. So if your name, for example, if you jump onto someone else's listing and you decide to sell the same product that someone else is selling, then you're basically considered a hijacker. And so the original seller will do everything possible to try to get you from selling the same product, right? Because they don't want you to be their competition. And so if you're not enrolled in the brand registry, then that might be a little bit easier for the original seller to do. they're going to knock you off either because you're hijacking their listing, and they are protected through the brand registry. Another reason could be because, yes, you are infringing. So maybe even if you are have a protected brand, maybe your logo or your company name is still too similar to someone else's, and so they feel like it might be infringing. Another reason could be because, actually, that's a great question, because those two are the first that come to mind. But I just want you to keep in mind that, Amazon is a very competitive platform. And so unfortunately, sellers will sometimes do everything and anything possible to get you removed from a listing. So you have to do everything in your power to hold your place and to maintain your position. And the best way to do that is by elevating your brand a little bit with a brand registered trademark. And then you have to maintain that positioning. And you'll do that best with a trademark.
Yeah, that is so true, because one of the sellers came to us and they had this doubt. She was selling products for accessories for like Samsung or Apple, and then she got blocked because they thought that, she's using the word Apple and she's using the word Samsung, and her photographs that she was clicking had those two trademarks in it. She got blocked. So what do you think sellers can do when this situation happens?
Well, that's hard, because if you're entering that world of big brands, and I mean, if you're trying to compete with sellers of Apple products, any big name electronics, you're going to have to tread lightly, because, and Amazon is not a platform where you necessarily tread lightly. I mean, people go into Amazon wanting to go in full force. And so those brands have a lot of money invested into their intellectual property. And they also have deep pockets, meaning that they have more money to spend on continuing to protect their intellectual property. And so you don't really want to enter their world unless you're prepared to meet them all the way. So if that's not really something you're prepared to do, then don't necessarily go for the big name products. Try to find your niche amongst the blue ocean, where the waters are not as saturated with the sellers of the same product.
Yeah. And do I register my brand or trademark immediately after I start selling on Amazon, or do you suggest that I do it before I start selling on Amazon?
That's a great question. So I think first you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? So if your goal is to ultimately be able to use all of the resources that Amazon offers, including the enhanced brand content through part of the brand registry, then yes, you're going to want to register as soon as you can, meaning yesterday. But if you're somebody that is going to do, the FBA model, or I'm sorry, not the FBA model. If you're somebody who's just going to, ship the products on your own, like fulfilled by merchant, if you're somebody that's not really interested in private labeling, then maybe having a trademark isn't going to elevate your brand. And so if your goal is to elevate your brand to the point where you can be milestones ahead of other people, then yes, a trademark should be on your priority list. So it depends on what your goal is. You need to ask yourself and be very clear on what is your goal, either on Amazon or outside of Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true, because people usually forget that, when you think about trademark registration or logo protection, they're like, oh yes, I have to do this. But if it's not like benefiting your business, don't spend your time on it. So I think Marcella would be a great person to ask to if you have any doubts regarding your logo protection, and if you should do it, and if you should register your trademark. So Marcella, another question that our sellers ask us, and I think you're the best person to ask the question to. If I'm situated in, let's say, USA, and I have a trademark registered for Amazon.com, what do I have to do to register for a trademark when I want to sell on Amazon.ca or any other country?
So this is what I was referring to at the beginning of this interview, is that, there's the Amazon world, and then there's, the outside real world. And so if you're somebody who already has a protected brand through a registered trademark in the USA, then, and you have enrolled in the brand registry on Amazon, then my understanding is that, you know, you're going to be able to use the brand registry in other countries. So Amazon, you know, whatever other country you're using it in, you know, the UAE, in England, in, you know, the United States, in Canada, in Denmark, anywhere, you're going to be able to reap the benefits of the brand registry as long as you have your mark registered in at least one country, because Amazon will recognize it. But, you know, in the real world, having a trademark in the USA doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be protected in Denmark or in Canada. So that is where you have to make a distinction between what Amazon is protecting and what the real world is protecting. Because in the real world, you should consider having a trademark in each of those countries for ultimate protection, because the world does not necessarily afford protection for a trademark only protected in one country.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of Chinese knockoff products on Amazon. So let's say if it's Apple, that's going to be like Sapple or something like that. Can you do anything? Does brand like trademark registry or brand protection help you in that case?
Yeah, so, you know, there is something called a likelihood of confusion, and your brand, the whole point of a trademark is to protect consumers from confusion. So they don't want a bunch of people entering the marketplace that have Apple, Sapple, Fapple, Mapple, and you're all selling the same products. Because at the end of the day, that could potentially be confusing for a consumer, wondering, well, which company does it come from? Because they all sound the same, they all sell the same looking products. And that is the kind of confusion that the USPTO doesn't want. So yes, having a trademark will protect you in the sense that you're going to be able to stop people who have confusingly similar names to yours from selling those products. So it doesn't mean that if in this case, let's say Apple, let's say there's somebody who starts a brand name Sapple and they're selling chocolate. Well, it doesn't mean that Apple is now going to be able to stop Sapple or Fapple from selling chocolates. But if Sapple and Fapple are also selling electronics, then Apple would be able to put a stop to the Sapple and Fapple electronic selling, because that is confusion in the marketplace.
Yeah, and if we're talking about brands with similar name, what about counterfeit things? So if you have Ray-Ban sunglasses online, and then you have the same Ray-Ban sunglasses, but you know that those are knockoffs, what's the procedure then?
Yeah, so it would be the same thing. I mean, if you're talking about the Amazon platform, then the procedure is going to be the same. If you have a protected brand, for Ray-Bans in this case, then you're going to go through the Amazon protocol of basically reporting the seller and making sure that Amazon recognizes your brand if it hasn't already, and then putting a stop and ultimately canceling out that seller. So basically they would cancel their seller account and they wouldn't be able to list products anymore. But that process is a lot easier and more accessible to you when you have a registered trademark. So again, you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? Is your goal to be able to do something like that because you expect your brand to grow and be recognized? And you plan to inject and invest a lot of dollars into it? Well, then, yeah, you basically want to have insurance. And that insurance is going to come in the form of a registered trademark.
Yeah, and what about people who want multiple trademarks for their product? Is that possible?
Yeah, so there is no limit to the number of applications that you can file with the USPTO. And it's also my understanding that there is no limit to the amount of products that you can register in the brand registry. So for every registered trademark certificate that you hold and that you own, and yeah, that belongs to you, you will be able to enroll that in the brand registry.
Well, thank you for those wonderful and informative tips, Marcella. I'm sure that people are going to consider, registering for Amazon trademark. And if they're not, please consider to do so. I have seen so many sellers getting their brand logo and things stolen. So Marcella is the one for you. Contact her. And do you have any other tips and tricks that you would like to tell our sellers?
I share lots of tips on my YouTube channel also, which is, youtube.com/trademark lawyer. And I walk through lots of different scenarios because the trademark journey can be a long one. And so person A might not have the same situation as person B. So if you want to find the scenario that fits you, then make sure that you head to the channel and subscribe.
Well, that was a really informative session. Thank you again for coming to SellerSpeak. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more informative content, and do check out our free tools that can help you elevate your Amazon business and journey quickly, and we will see you next time. Thank you.